Hello there, I'm James Dagwell and welcome to E24, which comes to you this week from Oslo in Norway. No guesses as to why we're here, it's written all over the building behind me. It's the 55th Eurovision Song Contest, which is Europe's biggest entertainment event. An exclusive behind-the-scenes look at what goes into staging the show coming up. Welcome to the Telenor Arena just outside Oslo. 39 countries from across Europe and beyond have taken part in this year's contest, to be watched by an expected 125 million people around the world. Now that is more than America's Super Bowl. Last year, Moscow staged the most expensive show ever. So has Norway managed to live up to Russia's high standards? Let's take a look at what goes into staging a show like Eurovision. That famous music, which can mean only one thing: Eurovision. When Norway took the Eurovision crown this time last year in Moscow with the highest ever score in the contest, it brought the show this year to Oslo. But behind the spandex and the national pride, what you don't see is that there are 2 weeks' worth of intense preparations for what will become one of the biggest TV shows in the world. Okay, so we're in the media centre. Now this is where something like 2,500 journalists and fans get special backstage access here at Eurovision. Just over here in the corner are the pigeonholes. Now everybody gets one, and this is where people post all the party invites, because of course over this 2-week period there's pretty much a party every night. If you follow me over here, this is where all the journalists end up working. It's a vast hall of banks of computers, and myself and Richard, who's behind the camera, we've spent the last few days in here working. Right now there are hundreds of journalists in here, and they're all watching one of the semi-finals transmit live across Europe. Of course, you couldn't do Eurovision without the acts. Here with me is this year's Lithuanian entry, InCulto. Hello boys.
Hello! Woo!
Yeah! Just tell me first of all, your act has got a lot of gimmicks in it, but you're a real band. So what's that all about?
Well, the real band, we're a band, but we try to expand our boundaries, actually. I mean, we're trying to do things which we usually wouldn't do. And being in Lithuania, there aren't very many opportunities or possibilities for a self-respecting band. So we've decided to respect ourselves a little less.
At least you tried, Eric. I'm sure the fans appreciated your efforts.
Now this is of course where the 2-week event culminates, inside the arena. Behind me, there are some 16,000 seats for people to come and watch the semi-finals and the finals. But right now, it's not completely empty, because if you look behind me, there are people here. We've just finished one of those important dress rehearsals. There are more than 100 hours of rehearsals, 5,000 lights rigged all around the arena, and 23 cameras to capture all the action. So finally the fans arrive, and it's time to say, good evening Europe. Okay, let's return to the Eurovision Song Contest now. And for all its glamour and the money that's spent on the show and the good PR that each country hopes to get from the contest, I think it's fair to say that some people see the show as a bit of a laughingstock. Well, here to dissect the show's cultural and political reference, if indeed it has any, is John Kennedy O'Connor. He's the author of the show's official history. First of all, I think we should ask the question, what's the point of the show?
It's a wonderful night of entertainment. It's a great live show, and it's the one night of the year where everyone in Europe comes together, hundreds of millions of them, to share a show of mediocrity sometimes, perhaps a bit of nonsense, but just pure entertainment.
Okay, well, all of that aside, what does it offer culturally, or is it just a talent show?
Well, I think it's seeing what other countries think is a pop song, or what represents them as a pop song, and that's part of the entertainment value. As we were saying earlier, you can sit there and think, my goodness, what is this song all about? How awful is this? Or how good is this? And it's a great chance to see what other countries, see how other countries reflect their pop music.
Moldova, the first song of the evening. They're through.
But I think for the Eastern Bloc countries particularly, they share the same music, and it's great for them to see their artists on a world stage that they'd never get an opportunity to do otherwise.
As you mentioned there, it used to be almost revered in Western Europe. That has perhaps now shifted to Eastern Europe. So what does Western Europe make of it now? Because certainly if you're in the UK, many viewers, many people who see the show just see it as a bit of a joke.
Well, it is, but I think that's partly the UK's own fault. I mean, you did have a chap for 35 years sitting there mocking the whole contest on the night, and he was the voice of the BBC, and I think he kind of carried the audience with them. And as a result of that, of course, nobody in the UK worth their salt will touch the contest, and I think that's a great shame. And that's what's holding the UK back in the contest, because the rest of Europe is looking and saying, who is this singer? You are the country that produced the Beatles, the Rolling Stones. Why are you sending this person that we've never heard of?
So whose fault is that then?
I think it's the fault of the British music industry, who are not really interested in the contest anymore because they don't need it. If you're a Slovakian singer, this is maybe your only chance to get on the world stage and make a big name for yourself. If you're a British singer, you don't need Eurovision. You never did. You can make it without it. And I think that's the disadvantage.
And so finally, let's talk about the future. Where does Eurovision go from here? Is it just going to roll on year after year?
Yes, but it has rolled on year after year with the same old rubbish for 55 years now. I mean, the death knell has been sounded more times than for anything else I've ever encountered. Every year they say this will be the last, but it gets bigger every year, it gets more popular every year. The ratings are very much on the increase after having declined for a while. But no, it will keep getting bigger. More countries want to come into it. I think with the Asiavision, Song of Africa, all these other contests taking place, that might expand Eurovision even further. We'll have to see. I think the future looks solid.
Well, that's all we've got time for in this special programme from Oslo. You can watch this show all over again on the BBC News website and on the iPlayer. And don't forget, if you want to see all those Eurovision entries and all their glory once again, all the shows from Eurovision are on the BBC's iPlayer. I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.